So, yeah, let's settle in for this one because today we're really digging into project structure for a modern Swift UI project. And honestly, this is the let's get real follow-up to my video on naming file structure and code splitting. If you missed that, pause this and catch up because everything we're doing now is basically the payoff from sticking to those rules, especially when you've got AI agents as your coding buddy. So, here's the thing. Modern Swift UI, solo dev, plus AI coding agents. It's kind of wild, right? And not in a move fast and break things way, but more like if you don't get a grip on structure, you'll be cleaning up after yourself and your AI for months. You know what I mean? I've done the dance where I let Claude or Cursor just write code wherever it wants, thinking, I'll clean it up later. And it never works out. No joke. Half my early projects ended up as a junk drawer of files, custom components, half-finished features, and duplicated logic. And why does this happen? It's simple. These AI coding agents, Claude Code, Cursor, Codex, are massive language models that have basically gobbled up the internet. But here's the catch. Most of what they ate is either old UI kit code, open source experiments, or Stack Overflow answers from the MVVM glory days. They haven't really seen much well-architected, modern, production Swift UI because the good stuff is either buried in Apple documentation, hidden in private GitHub repos, or tucked behind someone's paywall. That means unless you spell it out, your agent is going to default to what it knows. Lots of custom stuff, weird naming, and all the wrong patterns. That's why project structure isn't just nice to have. It's like table stakes if you want to stay productive and not spend your weekends cleaning up AI spaghetti code. Let's talk about the rules.md file because this is the single doc that's quietly running the show in every project I ship now. And yeah, you can see right on screen, it's always named rules.md, lives in the documentation folder, and it's probably the smallest doc in the project, but easily the most important. The opening line is basically, if you're an AI coding agent, you must follow these instructions exactly. And I know that sounds a little dramatic, but if you've ever had to merge a 500-line AI-generated PR, you know why. So let's break down what actually goes in here. And why? First up, mindset. I keep it simple, lovable, complete, SLC, no overbuilding, no clever for clever's sake. If a feature or refactor isn't obvious or isn't needed, don't do it. And if you're not sure, ask. AI tools are confident, but they're not smart unless you feed them context. Next, splitting files. I see so many repos where one file has like 4 different views, a couple of models, maybe even some extension logic jammed in at the bottom. This is the quickest way to make your project unmaintainable. My rule, one file, one type. If you're writing a view, a component, or a model, it gets its own .swift file. This is especially important for Swift UI because views are disposable. You want to be able to swap, split, and refactor without breaking everything else. And, AI needs that clarity too. If everything is self-contained, it'll stop trying to shoehorn 5 things into one file just because that's what it saw on GitHub. The next thing I enforce is folder structure. And here's where I see a ton of folks get stuck because Xcode kind of lets you do whatever. You can have folders named whatever, nest them however you want, and suddenly you're 6 months in with temp, utils, test, new folder 2, and nobody knows what's actually in there. My folders are always components, views, managers, models, utilities, navigation, resources, widget, and documentation. Each one has a purpose. Components for reusable UI bits, views for your full screens, and split out by device size if you're building for iPhone and iPad. Managers for business logic, think networking, analytics, state, and so on. Models are your data. Utilities are helpers, extensions, or anything you use project-wide. Resources is for images, icons, JSON, whatever. Widget is where the widget kit code lives. Documentation, obviously, for all your .md files. Don't mix and match. Don't dump files into root. The goal is that with AI or without, you know exactly where to look for something. And naming conventions are another spot where AI gets tripped up. I see so many auto-generated myComponent3.swift or solo app view final.swift files, and it's a nightmare to clean up. My advice: stick with what Apple does. Pascal case for types and files, camel case for variables and functions, and make your names clear. So settings view.swift, not super solo settings view.swift. Don't brand every file, and don't make things plural unless it's actually a collection. Now you want to go a bit deeper. Let's talk about not using previews for every little thing. This is one that's controversial. I get it. SwiftUI previews are cool, but they're not always reliable. And if you keep adding previews just because you can, your repo fills up with dead code that's never used in production. I put in my rules.md that previews are off limits for this project. You can do what you want, but pick a rule and stick to it. Dependencies. Oh boy. You ever let your AI agent add some random SPM package because it looked cool, and then a year later it's broken and unmaintained? Yeah, me too. That's why my rules.md always says, no third-party libraries unless you check with me first. Prefer native SwiftUI, built-in Apple frameworks, and only reach for something else when there's no native solution. That keeps your project lean, maintainable, and honestly, way easier to debug. Let's touch on code splitting for a second. This is a solo dev survival skill. If your file's getting close to 200 lines, or if a function is more than, say, 30 lines, or does more than one thing, split it. Make it smaller. Give everything a single responsibility. That way, AI can understand, update, and extend your code without stepping on other parts. And you'll thank yourself later when you have to track down a bug. All right, but what's the real world impact? You can see on screen. This isn't theory. My folder structure, the file names, the rules, they all match. I can jump between projects, bring in a new AI coding agent, or even ask another solo dev to look at my repo and they get it immediately. AI can scan, understand, and code without hallucinating weird structure. Every time I want to add a new feature, it lands exactly where it belongs. Want to find a bug? It's in the manager or the view, not somewhere called temp or new stuff. And when you need to scale or even ship faster because your momentum is high, you're not tripping over technical debt from a messy code base. And, maybe the biggest value here is not even technical, it's mental. When you don't have to think about where to put something or what to name it, you save so much energy for the hard parts. Honestly, a clean, lean, well-structured repo is like the difference between cooking in a cluttered kitchen and a spotless one. You move faster, you make fewer mistakes, and you feel better shipping. So yeah, here's my final pitch. If you're a solo dev in the modern SwiftUI world, working with AI coding agents, make rules.md your new best friend. Don't be afraid to tweak it as you go. Keep it honest, keep it simple. It'll become the backbone of every project you ship. Grab the zip below. I drop my actual rules.md so you can see exactly how I do it. Copy it, riff on it, make it fit your style. The point is, don't just let your AI decide how your repo grows. Own it, set the rules, and watch how much smoother everything gets. All right, that's my soapbox. Keep crafting, keep coding, keep things simple, and yeah, don't let your repo turn into a mystery novel. Peace.